All right. So I'm going to ask you some questions related to your profession. Um, this is my dad, by the way, Ed. But anyways,
Okay.
all right. So who are you?
My name's Ed Leeper, and I am a financial advisor.
All right. And where do you work?
I started my own company with a buddy of mine about 13 years ago, an RIA firm, and we do financial advising through our firm.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this?
13 years now. We focus mostly on 401k stuff. We do stuff all the way up and down the West Coast, from California to Bellingham, even out to the East Coast as well.
Okay. And then you kind of already answered this, but what industry does your company work in exactly?
Well, finance, but there's multiple areas in finance that you can work in. We do some individual stuff, but about 95% of our stuff is 401k, corporate, retirement planning.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask you a bigger question. I'll start off with little segments of it and then kind of work our way through it. So the first is consider your greatest career achievement in that role. Can you provide some details, including the time period, the persons, the products and services that were involved?
I'd have to say the beginning, when I first started the business, it took a lot of patience, tenacity, and working with different types of record keepers, different types of TPAs, reaching out to clients, prospective clients, working through their issues. How is the how are 401 is going to work inside their business? We also specialize with prevailing wage fringe dollars, so providing the correct answers, the correct uh, resources for our clients or prospects, and showing them how to save money, how to help their employees. It took a lot of time, about 2,000 cold calls in about 2 years. So a lot of cold calls, a lot of follow-up calls, just not giving up.
Mhm. Um, what management principles, strategies, or processes did you employ that you believe led to this effective organizational outcome?
First of all, you have to listen to your prospects or your clients. You have to do a lot of problem solving. When something goes wrong, human error always happens between the client and the record keeper, or the client and the TPA. You have to be the intermediate there to try to make a lot of decisions and problem solve for the mistake and or the error that was unintentional, or something that just miscommunication. A lot of that was going on.
Okay. Um, why do you consider this achievement so impact that wait, why do you consider this achievement to have been so impactful?
Well, it's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of times where you feel like giving up, but you can't give up. There's a lot of times where you feel, oh man, that this is never going to get solved, but you just have to take a step back, take a breath, look through the process, and just move forward. And a lot of people struggle with that. Everybody probably struggles with that at the beginning, but as you go and as you learn, you have to go through that hard time in order to be successful in the future.
So I'm gonna ask you some questions regarding the characters that interview that you have when you used in realizing the greatest achievement. Um, and you'll kind of just tell me if you used it, which will be you've never used it, rarely used it, occasionally or sometimes used it, often used it, or always used it. So we'll start with listening.
You're always listening. If you stop listening, you'll stop growing. Listening is a constant every single day, whether it's a client, whether it's a participant inside of the plan, whether it's the government, you got to deal with that. All these different things. If you're not listening, you'll never learn. You'll never be able to move forward. And plus, the clients will know you aren't listening.
Yeah. How about empathy?
Empathy is a good one with financial advising because there's ups, there's downs. I get phone calls from participants or clients where their accounts down significantly. You got to let them express themselves, and you have to really be concerned about what they're going through. Otherwise, they'll see right through it.
So you'd say like used it often or more always?
I'm constantly using that,
You using it? Okay.
especially when the stock market's down.
Yeah. How about healing?
Healing?
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by healing.
Um, it might be regarding more towards like in situations where someone's offended or I don't know, someone takes it the wrong way or someone you have to like tell them, okay, like let me help you like heal where you're like your head's at almost maybe in a certain sense. Or if you don't really use that often, then I mean that could be used in a different like sense of like managing.
The word healing is, I don't know, I don't use the word healing. I mean, I use the word problem solving because we have problems and you have to come up with a solution, and that causes things to be corrected. So, and I mean, that happens all the time. I just dealt with it. I'm dealing with multiple things right now where things aren't correct. So you have to work through the process, correct those things, listen to both sides until the process is complete and things until things are corrected.
Yeah. Okay. How about awareness?
I have to be aware, otherwise clients are gonna, other people are gonna come and take my clients. That means I'm constantly focusing on my clients, reaching out to my clients, focusing on their needs, not my own. Reducing fees when they get to a certain point. Clients look at that as well because I have to focus on what is best for their business.
Hmm. Okay. How about persuasion?
Dealing with prevailing wage jobs, contractors that do prevailing wage, helping them place their fringe dollars. There's a lot of persuasion that goes in there because you need to let the employer know that the cost benefit to them is significant, but at the same time, you have to also back that up with this is what's best for the employees as well, or not just now, but in the future.
Okay. So always two for that as well, you'd
Constantly.
say?
Yep.
Constantly. Conceptualization.
Mm, you, I think you're asking, looking to the future. Is that what you're asking? Saying, okay,
Yeah,
this
like
is
looking towards, yeah, like conceptualizing what could be, if that's
right.
exactly
Yeah.
more.
Uh, yeah. I mean, you always have to be looking and saying, okay, what could this be? And that will give you the next step on what you need to do to get to where you think you need to be. Uh,
Okay.
so we're constantly doing that. We're constantly doing that.
Yeah. How about foresight?
You get that as you learn, as you're in the business. You could see
Hmm.
things coming, uh, and you try to cut them off at the pass so your clients aren't affected significantly. But that takes time. That takes learning because when you first start doing something, you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And
So,
still there's sometimes it happens, but a lot of times as you do your job and you deal with certain people, because everybody's a bit different, uh, you could foresee the issues that come up with
mhm.
different people have different personalities, so you have to
Yeah.
deal with them differently.
So you now that you've been in the business for a while, you'd say you use it quite often
Oh
or
yeah,
all the time,
oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
always looking towards, yeah. How about stewardship?
Being a business owner, you always have to be checking, keeping an eye on where money's going, what it's
Hmm.
doing. I mean, you can't spend money to spend money. There has to be a reason. There has to be a result for it. Uh, so you have to focus on that. And with clients, I'm always looking to be a good steward of their fees, a good steward of where their money is going, uh, because I look at their money as my money, and
Yeah.
I don't want to lose money, so I don't want them to lose money.
Yeah. So probably always use
Uh,
that as
I'm doing that. all the time with different clients. Different clients are going to have different goals. So you have to adjust your thought process and your how you achieve those goals for different clients based on their risk, based on their age, based on how much money they have, based on their cost of living, their health, all these different things. So I'm constantly doing that, but I'm adapting it for every individual.
Okay. How about the commitment to the growth of people?
I mean, as a financial advisor, we're constantly doing that. That is our job.
Yeah.
We want these people to, on the finance side, we want these people to grow as, so when they are done, when they're done retiring, whatever date that is, they are free to do what they want to do in their golden years.
Hmm. Okay, so then the last one is interest in building community.
That one we're not using quite as much. It's just me and my, I mean, mostly with the individual clients, they don't communicate with each other. I mean, a lot of them they're in the same industry, a lot of them. So they may even be competitors. So there's
Yeah.
not a lot of community there with the competitors. But inside of a plan, for example, um, I try to bring the group that I'm working with together so they can know as the years go, as I work with them, they feel like they can trust me. Um, and the whole group in itself, I try to get them all together so they understand everything. And one person has a question, it might answer somebody else's question, or it might bring another question on that the other person didn't think about. So, and I know that these employees talk to each other outside of our meetings. So, you know, trust with the owners and trust with the employees is big.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe occasionally or sometimes used.
Every time I work with an employee or I work with a client.
So probably then all the time.
Yeah.
That's the case. Okay, so now we're done with the characteristics for that question. We're gonna go on to the next. So, um, consider one of the significant challenges you face, preferably one with an ethical dilemma you previously faced in that role. How did you handle it, and what was the outcome?
With an ethical dilemma, I like to consider myself ethical. So
Yeah.
to me, there's not a lot of question to it. Um, if if it costs me financially, but it's better for the client and it's in line with the right thing to do, then we make adjustments. Uh,
Hmm.
there are some times where I move from one type of record keeper for a 401k plan to another, and I know that I'm going to lose out on a month or two of payments for that
Hmm.
or fees, uh, even though, but I have to do it because it's best for the client.
Yeah.
Bummer for me, but
Yeah.
better for them. So
Yeah.
that's just something we have to do, and we feel like it is a bummer, but ethically, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Um, Is there any specific time you can remember where you can tell me like a time period, person, product, services, competition, market conditions, etc., that may have been involved in a specific time where there was a dilemma where you wanted to go like one way, but you knew like you had to obviously do what was best for them, not yourself?
Yeah, I just transferred two of my clients from one record keeper to the other. This was last summer, and I knew I was going to get dinged.
Hmm.
But the cost savings for these guys was significantly different. And two clients at the same time, I'm like, well, maybe I should wait, do one client now, one client later. But because it was a hit financially, but I knew that it's best if we just do it for both of them individually if we do it at the same time, because then they're saving more money sooner.
Yeah.
So that was just the summer, just happened.
Okay. Um, So now I'm going to go through some characteristics involving challenges you faced, similar to the last ones. So, again, revol involving listening. Did you use that quite often, would you say?
I'm always listening
Yeah,
constantly. If you stop listening, you stop learning. You stop learning, you lose business.
yeah. Okay, and then empathy through that. Any,
Again,
you
again,
have,
you have to have empathy. I mean, for these people, especially the ones that are struggling
yeah.
financially, and you have to try to come up with a solution for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm. And you have to care about them almost more than yourself in situations like you were saying.
Yes, you constantly have to.
Um, Healing again, I mean, more so like, would you say probably problem solution
I
based,
think
if that,
yeah, I don't know if I have anything to add to
yeah,
that question.
yeah, okay. Um, Being aware when you're dealing with significant challenges.
Yeah,
Say,
you have to listen to the problem, be aware of the problem. If you don't know the problem, you're not listening. If you don't know what the problem is, you also have to rely on others to communicate the problem
mm-hmm.
or the issue. If they're not communicating it with you, it's probably because you're not communicating with them enough for them to want to tell you.
Yeah. Um, Another one, I don't, persuasion involving significant challenges. Do you use that as much, or is it probably not so much when it comes to
No,
challenges?
no. When it comes to challenges, there is some persuasion. We just got the Secure 2.0 Act from the government regarding 401k plans, and there are a significant amount of changes. Well, my clients don't know about these changes, so we had to communicate those changes and persuade them which changes would be beneficial versus which changes would not be beneficial.
Mhm.
Uh, and if we've done our job, they trust us enough as financial advisors to take our recommendations and move forward.
Conceptualization.
Yeah, you have to put it in a way where they can understand it. Um, you can't just throw an email together. It's got to be something that they can conceptualize the way the plan's going to work, the changes to the plan that's going to work. Uh, if they can conceptualize it and they understand it, chances are they're going to move forward with our recommendations.
Yeah. So letting them feel like they can trust you in the situation too.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, Foresight.
Well, we're that Secure 2.0 Act is another great example. We knew it was coming, so we planned for it. You have to know it's something's coming. You have to plan for it instead of being behind the eight ball and waiting till it gets you and then say, "Oh, now we got to make changes." No, you plan ahead of time because you see it coming.
Yeah.
That takes away a lot of the issues.
Yeah. Stewardship.
In regards to problem solving,
Yeah.
um,
Parts of a conflict you've had, or ethical dilemma or conflict, overcoming significant challenges.
I don't really know if I have any more information for that one. I mean, being a good steward, we are called to be good stewards on everything that we do. And
Yeah.
we try to use that in all areas of business.
Yeah. Um, Kind of similar question, but commitment to the growth of people. That's probably the
Again, I
same
mean,
thing.
it all goes together,
Yeah.
it's all one.
Yeah. And then the interest in building community, probably you have to kind of build community for them to trust you in a way almost.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It takes a while.
Yeah. All right. So next question. Just get it up. Okay, so what was the mission, vision, and strategy of the organization you're in, and how were they accomplished?
The mission was to get the business up and running in a cost effective way, to so we have revenue that's going through without to cover the expenses that are going out.
Yeah.
Uh, and that changes. Like we're moving over to a different platform without getting into too much detail. And we've been looking at it for a year. So the mission is changing. Our mission now is, instead of cold calling and making calls constantly, is going into purchasing other businesses, purchasing other books of business, growing the business that way. And that's a big reason why we moved to this different group, because there's benefits to that allows us to do these things more. So
Hmm.
the mission is constantly changing. You just got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. How essential is the entrepreneurial mindset in achieving the mission, vision, and strategy of the organization you're in?
I mean, there's some people that don't want to be in their own business,
Hmm.
and if you don't have that desire, you you're looking at potential failure. You have to have that desire to want to do something, desire to move forward towards the mission. You got to push hard. You got to never stop, and you just got to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna go through another round of um characteristics. These ones are different, so they're not the same ones, but it's to what extent did you utilize each of these skills with respect to your entrepreneurial mindset? So the first one is risk propensity. Propensity.
Risk, uh, you have to have a high tolerance for risk when you're an entrepreneur, because there is going to be a lot of failure, and you are taking a risk not just for yourself but for your family.
Yeah.
So you have to have a high risk tolerance.
And being okay with it.
Yeah.
Um, okay. And then generalized self-efficacy.
Generalized self-efficacy. Um, boy, when you say self-efficacy, it means yourself. You believe in yourself. Is that what that's asking?
I
That
think so.
that you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, self-doubt's going to bring in all kinds of problems because people see it. People see
Hmm.
the self-doubt. You have to believe that you can do it regardless of the situation. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there are times when you say, I don't deal with that type of finance. That's something else that we can get a specialist for when it comes to, something that maybe if they have $200 million,
Mm-hmm.
there's other people that can deal with $200 million better than I can. Okay.
Yeah.
Accounting. I'm not going to do it. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. So I understand that that's not in my wheelhouse and I can't talk about that. So I have to be aware of what my abilities are when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to finance and what I can talk about.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So your need to achieve.
You have to have a high desire to want to be successful, because if you don't, you're not going to do it. Uh, you're going to hit a tough time and you're going to stop doing it. You can't. You just gotta push through it. But you have to have the desire to succeed. If you don't, not everybody's built that way,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah.
So
Um, Need for autonomy.
need for autonomy. Um, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't. The
Um,
meeting's going to end in 10 minutes.
yeah.
So,
Do you need an understanding of what that means?
yeah, give me a little bit of an idea what you're talking about.
Um, the experience of volition and self-direction and thought, feeling, and action. The basic human need to feel in control of one's life by making choices that align with one's needs and goals.
Yeah, I mean, that in itself talks about somebody that's an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
somebody that wants to do this, someone that uh, has no problem taking on the risk, taking on the responsibility,
Yeah.
taking on, if something goes wrong, hey, it's on me.
Yeah.
It's me.
Um, we'll go through these last ones really quick. So the big five personality ones. Extroversion, is that a big one for you? Like, do you feel like that's a need when you're in your
To be an extrovert,
yeah.
in my particular one, you do. You can't be afraid. You have to be able to talk to people, regardless if they tell you that you don't know what you're talking about, or they don't want to work with you, or they hang up on you. You have to be an extrovert in that time. Yes, for sure.
Agreeableness?
Uh, I mean, it's good to agree with folks if they're correct. Uh, but at the same time, if they're not, you have to be able to give them a solution or give them the answer to a problem um, in a constructive way.
Yeah. Consciousness? Consciousness? Yeah, consciousness.
Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
That one, I'm.
Emotional stability.
You have to be steady. You can't have ups and downs. You can't panic. You can't get angry. You have to control your emotions
Yeah.
when you're with clients. Even not even clients, even with record keepers or people that you work with and manage to get the job done. You have to stay in control.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about openness to experience. So the tolerance for ambiguity. I can't say that
The
word, but
tolerance for ambiguity.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there are times when you things are just like, mm, I don't know. There's no real, I mean, it's not like a dartboard. There's no one spot that you want to hit. It's kind of ambiguous. So you got to work through it and try
yeah.
to find a solution.
Last four really fast. Positive intentions and attitudes.
Yes, you have to be positive and you
Okay.
have to have a good attitude.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one will work with you.
Yeah.
And you
Proact
can't get problems solved if you have a cruddy attitude.
yeah. Proactivity and work ethic.
I mean, it goes to say, I mean, I've said it before. If you are not proactive and if you don't have a work ethic to go through the failure, you'll get to a certain point and you'll stop. You'll say
Yeah.
it's not worth it, but you got to push through it.
Yeah. How about internal locus of control?
Internal what?
Locus of control. Do you know what that means, or do you want me to give you
No,
what it
give me
means?
an idea what you're talking about.
Um, the belief that you have personal control over your life and actions, and the effort, and that your efforts and decisions guide your behavior.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to believe that if you do this, this will happen. It's a
Yeah.
numbers game, especially when it comes to if you're trying to build a business. It's a numbers game. You have to talk to 2,000 people, and you'll get 20% of them.
Hmm.
You'll get 20 of them if you talk to 2,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, 2,000 gives you 1%. So not 20%, 1%. So you have to, you just have to know that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah. Innovative and being creative.
There are different times you need to be creative, even in finance. I mean, there's depends. I mean, constantly we have clients that have this much money and they need to retire at this time. Well, there you got to look at different options besides just the mutual funds, stocks, bonds. There's other things that you've got to look at and be creative sometimes just to help them to get to where they need to be.
Yeah. Okay, so the last question, we'll do it really quick. Apart from servant leadership and the entrepreneurial mindset, can you please identify two significant lessons slash attributes that are essential for success?
In
Um,
regards to what?
can you, regards to, apart from servant leadership and the entrepreneurial mindset, please identify two significant lessons or attributes that are essential for success.
Perseverance and honesty.
Um,
Is that what you're looking for? That's
no,
two.
those are good. Yeah. And can you give me like a reasoning for why those are your top two?
Well, if you persevere, you won't give up, and you'll just keep on going, right?
Hmm.
And you just keep going, no matter what happens. If you're honest, you'll never have to look behind your back. And you always know that whenever somebody talks to you, they know that you're going to be truthful and honest, and people respect that. And they want to
Beautiful.
work with people like
Providing
that.
something. Yeah.
Yep.
The last part of it is describe anything you wish you would have specifically avoided that may have derailed or delayed your success, if you feel that like there's something.
Avoided. I don't think there's anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's certain things that I have on the day-to-day stuff. They're like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that. That's kind of a waste of my time. Um, in those little things, you put them out of your mind. You stop thinking about them, the little things. Nothing major that I can think about, but a lot of little things
Mm-hmm.
that you go through.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen and
Yeah,
help me through this.
yeah. Good luck.
Thanks.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.